Okay, so today we will start with this aromatic nucleophilic substitution. We will talk a little bit of aromatic SN1 and aromatic SN2. Then we will talk about arine intermediate and so kind of benzene intermediate and its reactions. And then we will do the synthesis of uh, uh, different heterocyclic compounds like furan, pyrrole, thiophene, and pyridine, and some of their reactions. Okay, so we have already talked about the electrophilic addition, electrophilic reactions of aromatic compounds. And I think you all remember that we spoke that the electrophilic substitution happens through the sigma complex, or it is also called the Wheelan intermediate. So basically there are two types of complex we have talked about. First is the pi complex, which does not form any sigma bond. It's just kind of the electrostatic way. And then we talked about the sigma complex or the Wheelan intermediate. What happens here is your benzene ring develop the ring developed the positive charge, and one of the center has both the groups. Okay. Now this positive charge here is some extent stabilized because of the pi conjugation that is remained around the benzene. That is how the sigma complex forms. Okay. In these cases, the electrophilic substitution happens if your benzene nucleus is electron rich in nature. That, in other words, if there is electron donating group, then the electrophilic substitution happens in an efficient way. And we also talked about the orientation of the donating groups. For example, if it is donating, then basically those are orthopara orienting group. We have done also their resonating structure to find out why those are orthopara orienting groups. And in case of electron withdrawing group, we said for example for nitrobenzene, because it withdraws the electron, the benzene ring becomes electron deficient in nature, and that is why the reaction rate is very slow and it is mostly meta orienting, and that also we have seen why it is so. Now, when we come from electrophilic substitution to nucleophilic substitution, it actually becomes very difficult for only benzene ring, because benzene ring already have 6 pi electrons. So it has a pi electron cloud both the side of the ring, and that pi electron cloud usually does not allow the incoming nucleophile to come and attack. Okay, so that is why nucleophilic substitution in benzene ring is not very favorable or very usual, except some cases. Those cases we will discuss today. Okay, so now in case of nucleophilic substitution, if the ring becomes electron deficient in nature, then the reaction rate increases. Okay, the reaction rate increases when the benzene nucleus is electron deficient in nature. Okay, and when it is electron donating group, they then the nucleophilic substitution then happens exactly the same way as the electrophilic, by forming a complex. In this case, it is called the anionic complex. In case of electrophile, it was called sigma complex, but in case of nucleophile, it is called the anionic complex or the Mesenheimer complex. It was called Wheelan intermediate. It is called Mesenheimer complex. Okay, and electron withdrawing groups actually favor the nucleophilic substitution. And in that case, for electron withdrawing group, the orientation becomes ortho and para, while the electron donating group, they deactivate the system for nucleophilic attack, and in that case, that is the meta directive. This much is clear? Okay. Then we come to reaction that usually observed. So as I said, electron withdrawing group actually favors the reaction. This kind of reaction would not occur in benzene ring, but it happens for the nitrobenzene ring. So the question here is, what happens when nitrobenzene is fused with potassium hydroxide in presence of air, and why in absence of air the yield of the final product is very, very less? So all these examples in this class, at least you will find in the book of Peter Sykes. So you can also look there, everything is mentioned there. Okay. Now the question is, what happens when nitrobenzene is fused with KOH in presence of air? So as I said, nitrobenzene, because of the nitro group, which is electron withdrawing in nature, the system becomes activated for nucleophilic aromatic substitution. And that is why when KOH, that is the OH minus, is reacted with this nitrobenzene in presence of air, it leads to mainly orthonitrophenol as the major product and paranitrophenol as the minor product. Okay. So OH minus actually attack in this ortho position, because these two ortho positions are highly activated in this case, because the electron withdrawing effect is much more here as minus R as well as minus I. So that is why the ortho positions are highly active. So it reacts here, it forms this kind of structure, and when these bonds come, this hydride actually removed to form this orthonitrophenol, and some amount of paranitrophenol it gives. Now you might have observed, and already the question came in your mind that, okay, here actually this hydride is leaving, while it has the possibility to leave the OH also. Now, as we all know, OH minus would be a better leaving group than the hydride minus, correct? So then why hydride would leave? Actually, it is correct, because OH would leave and hydride will not leave. If OH leaves, you would basically get back to the starting material. If hydride leaves, you get the product, correct? So basically most of the time OH leaves, and that is why the first step is basically very slow, okay, to form this one, and the overall equilibrium actually remains to the left hand side. Okay, so that is what it is mentioned here. So here hydride is a poor leaving group, so the overall equilibrium lies towards the left. But now what will happen if the reaction is done in presence of air? So air is an oxidizing group, oxidizing agent in this case. It can be taken either air or other oxidizing agent such as potassium nitrate or potassium ferricyanide. This kind of oxidizing agent, what it does, it actually consumes this hydride. So let's say it forms this one in a slow rate, but then there is also possibility of removing hydride, and the moment hydride is removed, it is basically, okay, when the hydride is removed, that hydride is taken up by the oxidizing agent, in this case air, okay, or the other oxidizing agent. So because this hydride is consumed, the reaction is now going toward the forward direction, okay, to form this orthonitrophenol. Now what will happen in absence of air? In absence of air, there is no scavenger for this hydride ion, and that is why the reaction would like to go towards the left hand side, okay, towards the starting material again. But the one good thing is this nitrobenzene itself can act as the oxidizing agent. It converts into an azoxybenzene. So that is why the reaction still goes, but in a very slow rate, because it is not a great oxidizing agent, but it's a very weak oxidizing agent. Okay. So this entire problem is understood. First, we said that these ortho positions are activated, so nucleophilic attack can happen in this ortho position. Then we said that hydride is a poor leaving group than OH, so the reaction rate is very slow. But if you can quench, or if you can scavenge this hydride ion through an external oxidizing agent, then the reaction would actually happen towards the forward direction. But in absence of oxygen, this nitrobenzene itself can act as oxidizing agent to do the reaction, but in a very slower rate. Okay. Okay, let's come to aromatic SN1 reaction, aromatic nucleophilic substitution unimolecular. I think you all know what is SN1 reaction. Anybody wants to summarize in a one or two sentence what is SN1 reaction? Okay, so I think you have studied already SN1 reaction, and what you
Sir,
have studied.
in the
Yeah,
SN1 reaction, there is a generation of carbocation
yeah,
while nucleophile reach the basic, what I can say, substrate. So basically, when a nucleophile reach the compound to which we want to make reactions, so a carbocation will generate, which is the rate determining step, and
yeah.
after that the substitution occurs, and it is the second order, sorry, yeah, this is only first order reaction.
Yes, yes, that is correct. So then you get what, retention or inversion of configuration. If we take some sort of chiral compound,
Sir, it will retention mostly, because carbocation can carbocation can generate, so it becomes planar,
yeah,
and the reaction the what reagent will attack from both the sides. So in case it takes retention, basically like both the retention and inversion takes place, that depends upon the which matter which is the reagent and what are the substrate.
is it called retention? Is it called
Sir, racemization.
The racemic
retention?
mixture.
Yes, that was little bit trick, but yeah, but you have given the answer correctly. Aditi, you have given the answer correctly. So because it planarized, it can attack from both sides. So basically racemization will happen, not inversion, not retention. Okay. So yeah, you all I think remember what SN1 is. Basically, what I want to emphasize here is that it actually happens that the first carbocation is generated, then the nucleophile will attack. Okay, so carbocation generation is the determining step, and that is why it is unimolecular in nature. Okay. Now, one such example is observed in aromatic system also, and that system is basically the diazonium system. What happens in this case, if we take this diazonium salt, it basically slowly forms the carbocation. Okay, that is the phenyl cation. And this phenyl cation, if we attack with some external nucleophile, it forms the product. Okay, so this is the entire reaction. We take diazonium salt, and then if we add the nucleophile, it forms the adduct through this carbocation intermediate. Now, there are several things to know. Okay, one by one, let's point it out. Now, why this carbocation will generate? Because generating this carbocation will incur a lot of strain in this system. This carbocation generates because nitrogen is a good living group. Okay, it can live very easily. Actually, it is kind of very subtle balance. Okay, it lives very easily, but then okay, I'll come to this part again. So it lives very easily to generate this carbocation. Okay, and now when we add different nucleophile, then this nucleophile will attack here and we get the product. Now, when it has been observed that when they use the Y minus, that is the nucleophile, as chloride or methanol or some other, then it has been observed that the rate of the reaction does not change. Okay, the rate of the reaction does not change. That means what? That means this Y minus attack is actually happening not in the rate determining step but in the first step. Okay, because it is first step, this is not rate determining step. That means this has to be the slowest step. So the rate would be rate constant, I mean K1 into your concentration of your starting material, and that is how it is unimolecular in nature. Okay, how do we know? So this is the entire course of the reaction. But how do we prove, how do we know that this carbocation is generated? It has been observed when one does with nitrogen leveling. Let's say one nitrogen is leveled, another nitrogen is not leveled. Okay. Then it has been observed after some time, if we do not have this Y minus, there is a scrambling of the nitrogen. Means there will be both of this product will be, both of these starting material will be observed. So how do we make this? Let's say we take aniline and then we take NaNO2, which has N15 leveling. So you make this one. So your level nitrogen is here, but after some time you find that your level nitrogen is here. How can it come? It can come only through this carbocation generation. Okay. Now, if why, if this, as we said that nitrogen is a good living group, why this is reacting? Because this phenyl carbocation is highly reactive. It is highly reactive. It forms because nitrogen good living group, but because it is highly reactive, it could also react with nitrogen. So if a species is reacting with nitrogen, nitrogen is already inert. That then you can understand how reactive this phenyl carbocation is. But this reaction happens because of the it has a fine balance of reactivity versus this nitrogen stability. Okay. So once again we will say first we take this diazonium salt, and then if we add the nucleophile, we see that this is the product formation, that is phenyl with the nucleophile attached. What we find here that when we change this Y minus, it does not alter the rate of the reaction. That is the clue. If it does not alter the rate of the reaction, that means this step is the first step. That means this step has to be the slow and rate determining step. That means your carbocation generation is the rate determining step. That is how it is SN1 reaction, because this is the rate constant. And now we said that how do we prove it? We prove it by nitrogen leveling. But we see that when we take this as a starting material, after some time, it actually scramble to give both as a starting material. Means you get this as a nitrogen leveling and this as a nitrogen leveling. The nitrogen leveling is attached with the benzene ring. So that indicates that it leads to an intermediate, that is the phenyl cation intermediate, through which this scrambling happens. That is how it is the SN1 aromatic SN1 reaction. Now what they find is that
So we were actually always told na ki this phenyl cation does not it never forms. So because it is really unstable, it's at the bottom of the almost at the bottom of the table, right? So in which other conditions this might generate? Or is this the only possibility?
Yeah, this is actually the only one. I think you will not find any other case where phenyl cation generates. Okay, and that is what I said, that aromatic SN1 also is not very common. This is almost the only one where this phenyl cation is actually generating. Okay, I think you will not see any other example where you see this kind of aromatic SN1 is happening. Okay. So this phenyl carbocation is very reactive. So then we can compare the stability versus reactivity versus selectivity. Okay. So what has been observed that when they take this phenyl cation and this Y minus, the nucleophile, as chloride or water, the difference in reaction rate is only 3. Okay. But if one takes this tertiary butyl cation Me3C plus, then the difference in rate is 180. Why? So the reason is this phenyl cation is very reactive, so very unstable, and that is why the selectivity is very poor. Cl minus of course would be more reactive than water, but the difference is very less because the reactivity of phenyl cation is very high. So this is very unstable, very reactive. So it is less selective, and that is why the difference is less. But this tertiary butyl cation, it is a bit stable because your 3-methyl group has plus I effect, as well as you have 9 hyperconjugable hydrogen atom. So that stabilize this tertiary butyl cation, and that is why, because it is stable, it is slightly less reactive, and if it is less reactive, it is actually more selective, and that is why the difference is very high. Okay, is it clear? Okay, good. Now let's come to this aromatic SN2 reaction. Okay.
Sir, in the previous question of that or like one previous slide.
Previous slide, yeah.
So here the both nitrogen and nucleophile both react with this phenyl cation. So is there any additional reagent which we use to suppress the reaction of nitrogen with this, the way we do in iodination of reaction, like the use of HI? So it will oxidize the produced I2.
Okay, so your question, if I understood it correctly, then that means that, so this scrambling happens in absence of Y. Okay, this nitrogen interchange can happen in absence of Y, because as I said, that phenyl cation forms because nitrogen is a very good living group. It is a gaseous substance, it can easily remove from the system. So in presence of Y, it will quickly forms the this PHY, means pH and the nucleophile reaction. Okay, it will, so this Y is not competing with nitrogen to generate this one. Okay, so it is only with absence of Y it is forming this kind of scrambling, means the nitrogen interchange is happening in absence of Y. The moment you add Y, it will quickly lead to your product. So in short, if you are doing the reaction together with Y, you would not actually get this scrambling. This is basically to address the reaction mechanism. They do it in this way. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. So now again we come to this aromatic SN2. Again, let's go back to the normal SN2. I think now you know SN2 is basically the backside attack, and in SN2 case you get mostly what, retention, decimization, or inversion. Which one?
Inversion.
Inversion.
Inversion, yes, absolutely correct. So in SN2 case, you get mainly the inversion. So you remember what is that normal SN2. In that case, basically, your nucleophile will replace the substituent. Okay, but here also one thing to be remembered, that if you take only, let's say, benzene with a leaving group or a substituent, the reaction would be very, very, very difficult, and you need a very robust and very drastic condition to have that reaction happen. But this reaction happens if there is an electron withdrawing group. Okay, in presence of electron withdrawing group, the lability or the reactivity of that X group becomes more, and that is how the reaction happens. Such examples are with nitro groups again. Okay, so what they have observed, what people have observed is, if you take one of these substance, let's say the first example where we have written X, so you have this X and 2,4-dinitro. You take a nucleophile. There could be two possibilities. Okay, one possibility where your Y, the nucleophile, would react and the leaving of X can happen in single step, means simultaneously, concerted pathway. So the C-Y bond formation and C-X bond breaking happens in a single step, followed by leaving of the X to give this product. This is one possibility. And the second possibility is, when your Y is reacting, so C-Y bond formation happens first, and then in the second step, C-X bond breaking happens to give the same product. So it is the stepwise pathway. So first is the concerted pathway where C-Y bond formation and C-X bond breaking happen simultaneously to give this product. And in the second step, the C-Y bond formation happens first, then C-Y bond breaking happens in the second step. Okay. How do we know that which one is actually happening? This has also been studied based on the Y group, okay, Y and X group. Okay, what they have taken as experimental evidence that when Y is piperidine and X is chlorine, bromine, and iodine, think about only chlorine and bromine. The rate is same, exactly same, and for iodine the rate difference is not that high. It's only very little. Okay, so what it indicates that the breaking of CX is the rate is same. That means the CX bond breaking happens in the first step. It is not the rate determining step. Clear, right? Makes sense? CX bond happens in the first step, and that is why it does not affect the rate. And then what happens? Your first step becomes the rate determining step. Obviously, there are two steps only. So this becomes, then you see Y bond formation is the rate determining step, and CX bond breaking is the first step. So that is how it becomes, then your rate equation becomes concentration of your substrate as well as concentration of your Y. So that is how it becomes the bimolecular SN2. Okay. So that is what it is mentioned, that this experimental evidence indicate that CX bond is broken in the first step and formation of the intermediate invert in the rate determining step. Therefore, the reaction passes through the stepwise pathway. One interesting observation is when X is equal to F fluoride, then the rate becomes 3300. Okay, why is that so? If it is if that CX bond breaking is happening in the fastest step, why why the rate becomes so high? In this case, the rate becomes high because of the substituent. So because fluorine F, I mean when this X is F, fluorine is highly electronegative in nature, so it withdraws the electron. So that means this carbon center where the Y is attacking becomes highly electropositive in nature. So the Y attack, the nucleophile attack becomes very much facile. Okay, that is the first reason. And second reason is this intermediate, that is in the second mechanism, the intermediate. This intermediate could also be stabilized because of the fluorine. Okay, so this intermediate generates a negative charge here. So this extra negative charge can be stabilized by the intermediate. So it does actually both. First, because of the electron withdrawing nature, this carbon center becomes highly electropositive so that the nucleophile can attack efficiently. And second thing is that the intermediate again would get stabilized by the fluoride minus. Okay, and that is the reason this reaction rate becomes so high. Okay. Okay, this example is also very interesting. It says that there are 4 compounds. One case, this para-bromo nitrobenzene, para-bromo 2,6-dimethyl nitrobenzene. In this case, the rate difference is 1:40, 40:1. Okay, but if the same is taken with cyanide, nitrile group, okay, then the rate difference is only 4:1. Why is that so? I think you have already guessed it. It is because the size of the nitro group is very high. Okay, in this case, NO2, 2 oxygen has to be in the same plane with that of benzene ring, so that the p orbital of nitrogen can be aligned with the pi conjugation of the benzene ring, so that it can withdraw the electron, so that this center, I mean the bromine containing carbon center, would be more reactive for the nucleophilic substitution to happen. But in this case, when it is 2,6-dimethyl benzene ring, in this case, this methyl group does the steric interaction, so this nitro group cannot stay in the same plane, and that is where it goes out of plane, and that is where the reactivity actually decreases. So that is why the rate difference becomes very high. But if this Cn is taken, Cn is basically linear, okay? And because of this linearity, this does not interact with these 2,6-dimethyl groups. And that is why the electron withdrawing ability retains in case of the second example. And that is why the rate difference is not very high. Okay. Okay. So there is some problem. I mean, some homework I have given at the end. I will discuss later. Now, so aromatic SN1, SN2, I think most of you have understood. Let's come to the second part, that is the substitution via arine intermediate. Okay, this reaction is very interesting. How did one arrive in this arine intermediate? So basically, again, this pH and Cl. So people were trying this nucleophilic substitution with NH2 and got the product also. So apparently it might look like this is also some kind of aromatic nucleophilic substitution. Correct? Your Cl is being replaced with the NH2. Okay. But when the mechanistic studies were done, it appears that this is not the case. Okay. What people have done, they have basically labeled this chlorine center, this carbon, okay, at the, I mean, the chlorine connected carbon. And when they did the reaction, they found that actually both the product where this NH2 containing carbon is positive and where the ortho position to the NH2 bearing carbon is also positive. How could that happen? How did that happen? While you are expecting this NH2 bearing carbon to be the labeled one as 100% product, that is product A. But in case of getting 100% product A, what people have observed is product A and product B were observed in 50-50 ratio. Okay, so how can that happen? So that means it is not a normal SN2 reaction, but it is actually going through a different intermediate. And actually the mechanistic studies reveal that this reaction is going through an benzene intermediate, And this is how the structure looks. In the mechanism, you can see the third structure. That is the benzene intermediate. Okay. What happens? This orthoproton is being taken up by this sodamide, NH2 minus, which is a very, very strong base as well as a nucleophile. Okay. So this, and actually this arine intermediate happens when the nucleophile appears to be also the base. Mainly actually for this NH2, this reaction happens. Okay. So this NH2 minus takes up this proton and then this chlorine actually leaves to form this benzene intermediate. Now in this benzene intermediate, you have actually two positions open. Okay. And those two positions can be reacted by this NH2 because it is also a nucleophile. And that is why you get compound A as well as compound B. That is how the reaction happens. Okay. How do we know that benzene is forming? Basically, benzene can be isolated and trapped at low temperature, something like 8 Kelvin. We can trap it and then we can do the spectroscopy to know it. Okay. Another question you might think that you might want to ask is that in benzene, these carbon centers are kind of sp in nature because the triple bond, correct? But in sp, the bond angle is 180 degree, but here the bond angle is 120 degrees. So it's a huge strain. How this forms? I have a question, right? Anybody wants to answer? How this could happen? How this could form? So actually, it is a little bit tricky. It's not very simple. It forms because the two orbital that it generates in this across this triple bond is not actually participating with the bond formation. It actually remains as an orbital, unreactive orbital. Okay, and the electron remains in that orbital. So it is not getting into an sp character, but it remains as an sp2 character. And that is why this much very high strain of angle can be avoided. This is there in the Peter Sykes book. You can read there. Okay, it is pictorially depicted. Okay. So here some explanation has been given. If the reaction passes through SN2 pathway, then actually you would expect this compound A to be 100%, but experimentally you get compound A and B. Therefore, this reaction passes not through the SN2 but through the benzene intermediate. As I said, this benzene can be trapped, and if the reaction is carried out in presence of furan, then actually this product is formed. So this is called 2+4 cycloaddition. It's called Diels-Alder reaction, and this Diels-Alder, after quenching with H plus in methanol, you get alpha naphthol. Okay, so this product can be isolated. This also proves that it does not go through the SN2 pathway, but goes through the benzene intermediate pathway. Okay. This benzene intermediate, if it do not have any other substrate to react with, then this benzene intermediate actually self-react, okay, to form this kind of biphenylene system. Okay. This is also sometimes question comes, what will happen if this benzene intermediates are self-react? Okay, so we will get this biphenylene. Okay, and another evidence observed from here is when this sort of halides are taken, where let's say this bromide and iodide, the ortho positions are blocked. Ortho positions do not contain any hydrogen. It has been observed that this kind of compounds does not lead to the benzene intermediate. It does not lead to the product formation. Only very harsh condition it can give the product formation, but also it is not through the benzene intermediate. Okay, so this indicates that because there is a lack of hydrogen in the ortho position, that is why the benzene intermediate cannot form in these cases, and that is why they do not lead to the reaction. Okay. Okay, now we will do some of the problems. Actually, this example is very interesting, and this example is also one of the proof of the benzene intermediate. People initially observed. What they observed is, let's say when you take parachlorotoluene and reacting with sodamide, then you can expect that you would get this paratoluidine as the minor product, that is para-aminotoluene. You could expect that this would be the sole product, but what people have observed is this metatoluidine, meta-aminotoluene, and it is the major product. That is very interesting. So how does this form? That is how the mechanistic studies happen. Again, it goes to this arine intermediate. You have this meta hydrogens, that is acidic in nature, and it can form the benzene here. Now this, wherever it is written arine intermediate, so in this benzene intermediate you have two positions. This example is interesting because now the question of orientation comes into the play. Okay, now so you have two positions. One is the meta with respect to CH3 in this benzene intermediate, and another is the para with respect to CH3 in this benzene intermediate. Where would it attack more? So in the beginning, I said that for nucleophilic substitution, electron donating group is a meta-directing, and electron withdrawing group is orthopara-directing. Why is that so? Let's see it here. Now this CH3, it has plus I effect, so that is why your ortho and para means 2, 4, 6 positions are electron rich in nature. If 2, 4, 6, is it clear? Your electron donating group will make the ortho and para position, that is 2, 4 and 6 positions electron rich in nature because it is donating the electron. Now if the system is electron rich in nature, the incoming nucleophile cannot react further, correct? So that is why the reaction at 2, 4 and 6 position would be slower, and that is why it has only two possibility to react. One is this 3 position and 4 position. So then this 4 position comes under this para, that is the deactivated because of the electron donating group, and that is why when it reacts at the 4 position, you get para-toluidine as a minor product. But this meta position, that is 3 position, is not getting electronically rich in nature. So that is why it is more favorable for this NH2 to attack at the meta position, and that is why your meta-toluidine is the major product and para-toluidine is the minor product. Is it clear?
But
No.
sir, CH3 has plus I effect, and
Yeah.
plus I effect depends on distance, I think. So
Yeah.
meta should be more under the influence of plus I than para.
That is correct. That is totally correct. But so electron donating group somehow they activate the 2, 4 and 6 positions. Okay, maybe some hyperconjugable sort of role is also kind of played here. Okay, that is why probably your 2, 4 and 6 positions are being more uh, electronically rich in this case. Okay, than the meta one. Interesting thing happens when you see that it is the parachloro, and if you take the metachloro also, you get the similar kind of product. Okay, the next problem here, it is the metachloro. Also one good phenomena you see that for the donating group, the reaction never happens at the ortho position, because the ortho positions are highly electronically rich in these kind of systems, and that is why the reaction almost never happens to the ortho position. Okay, so when the metachloro is taken, the benzene formation happens in this position only. Okay, and not the other position. So this hydrogen is somehow not taken, but only this hydrogen, the para hydrogen, is taken in this case. Okay, so that the benzene is formed, and then again this benzene is a common intermediate as that of previous case, and then you get the meta-toluidine as the major product and para-toluidine as the minor product. Again, the ratio remains the same as with the previous case. So from here we see that if we take the parachlorotoluene or the metachlorotoluene, in both the cases actually we get the same product. Okay. When we take this OMe, in this case actually the donating ability is also very high, and so here actually you do not have any other possibility than forming the benzene in this place. Okay, so then there is no other possibility than attacking in this ortho position, although this ortho anisidine would be very less in extent. I do not have the exact percentage, but this product would be very less because OMe is a very strong donor, and that is why your ortho positions are highly unreactive in nature.